Representative Moul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank you and Acting Minority Chairman McCarter and the rest of the State Government Committee for having this hearing on my House bill today, and I certainly do appreciate addressing this quite needy legislation. House Bill 2222 will reform the way groundwater is regulated within the Commonwealth. Currently, there are several entities that issue this type of regulation, including DEP, the Susquehanna River Basin, and the Delaware River Basin Commissions. This joint authority often requires water users to engage in duplicative efforts in attempting to comply with overlapping regulations, leading to great expense to the water users in our communities. My legislation would make DEP the exclusive authority to regulate groundwater within the Commonwealth and to impose fees, fines, or penalties on the use, withdrawal, or retention of groundwater. Additionally, it would require DEP to submit any new or amended regulations regarding groundwater to the House and Senate Environmental Resources and Energy Committees for the committee's approval before the regulation could be promulgated. Brought to my attention by a small town in Adams County, over-the-top fees for review and re-permitting on wells, which some have been in production for more than half a century, tens of thousands of dollars in fees, which gets passed along to the ratepayers. This is bad enough, but the sad part of the story is that it is totally redundant. The same data which is collected for the SRBC and DRBC is also collected for DEP. When these compacts were created, they were created to regulate usage of surface water so that the users upstream did not remove more than necessary, leaving ample supply for aquatic life and other users downstream. It wasn't until several years later that the SRBC realized that the compact referred to water resources instead of surface water resources. And they got the idea of regulating well water, and also then the empire was born. We have had several hearings on this issue and listened to operators of municipal and private systems complain as to the treatment by their commissions. What was all telling is that we were told by many that they were afraid to testify due to the fear of retribution. These compacts were born with absolutely no oversight from the General Assembly, and they have since abused their authority and amassed a treasure trove. SRBC, at last count, was sitting on $70 million of ratepayer money. These compacts lack oversight, transparency, and accountability that is common in our government agencies. They are not required to adhere to Pennsylvania right-to-know law, nor is it accountable to the Independent Fiscal Office or the Independent Regulatory Review Commission. No government entity should go unchecked. I'll read you two sections very quickly out of the SRBC's compact. Section 1.36 of the SRBC compact states that it is the express intent of the signatory parties that the commission shall engage in the construction, operation, and maintenance of a project only when the project is necessary to the execution of the comprehensive plan and no other competent agency is in a position to act or such agency fails to act. Section 3.2 of the SRBC compact states that it is the policy of the signatory parties to preserve and utilize the functions, powers, and duties of the existing offices and agencies of the government to the extent consistent with this compact, and the commission is directed to utilize those offices and agencies for the purpose of this compact. Now, I could read you the ones out of DRBC's compact as well. However, that in itself would be redundant because they say almost exactly the same thing. In other words, if there's a government agency that has the ability or is already engaged in this permitting process, there is no reason, nor should these two compacts also engage in it. It becomes redundant, overstepping, and expensive for our communities and our private systems that we have around the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, i.e. our constituents all pay the bills for this when it is totally not necessary. And with that, I thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to share my thoughts on House Bill 2222 today.
Thank you, Representative Moul.